Good morning, everybody. Arun Mehra here, and I'm delighted to be welcoming all of you this morning to my webinar and titled Building Your Accountancy Firm in an AI Age. Now, this is a new avenue for myself. I'm now pursuing a slightly different tangent, having built up an accountancy firm for the last 20 years. Now I'm going to try and impart some of my knowledge and advice to other accountants out there and learn from my grey experience, my mistakes, my suggestions, my ideas, my recommendations, and what the future holds as well. So I think it's a very exciting time in the accounting industry. There's a lot of change happening, and for those who are ready for change, who embrace change, and I think it could be a really, really exciting time. So I've got maybe about 45 minutes to an hour worth of slides to run through with you, and hopefully it'll give you an idea, a flavor of how I think and how I believe that the market is changing and how accountants will have to adapt and be much more flexible. So without further ado, let me crack on and let me share my slides. Hopefully this will work, so bear with me. Hopefully you can see my slides. So I hope this is working. Just bear with me a sec. This technology never always works how I want it to. Okay, so building an accountancy firm in an AI age. Now, it might look like a bunch of Lego to you, and I know I used to play with Lego all the time, and there are so many pieces, and you can build so many things, which is an exciting phenomenon. Being able to create something from scratch. And as a child, I used to play with Lego all the time, and then my children played with Lego all the time. And I kind of see the accountancy industry like that now as well. We have so many pieces, so many opportunities, but actually bringing it all together is actually quite difficult to make something that's going to be profitable, rewarding, exciting, and kind of, I suppose, something that maybe even be your legacy as you go forward. So it's a bit like this. So let me crack on. Who am I? Just to give you a bit of background here. This was actually at my 50th birthday dinner earlier this year. I'm Arun, as I said. I'm the owner and CEO of Samara. I also am the owner and CEO of Samara Global, which is our offshoring business. I'm also the co-owner of the Neemtree Dental Group, a private dental group in London and Surrey, with my wife's Meeta. And through the Samara business, I've been working with dentists, predominantly dentists. We do deal with pharmacies and vets and doctors as well, but predominantly dentists, as accountants, as business advisors, as financing people, etc. For the last 20 years. And we cover across the whole nation of the UK. We have clients from Scotland to Northern Ireland to Wales to everywhere else in between as well. I am a trained chartered accountant many years back now with PwC London. And after going to do my accountancy qualification, I did actually go and work for the Bank of America as an equity analyst for a few years. And then things changed and I married a dentist, but I'll give you a little bit more flavor about that in a minute. My interests, just to give you a bit more of a background about who I am and what I am. I love running and fitness. As I've got older, I've realized I need to keep active. Skiing, this is actually me earlier in the year in Austria. After a long day skiing, I do enjoy my skiing. Fresh air and nature is nothing quite like it. My roots are definitely Indian, and therefore I love cooking and eating Indian food, albeit not the best cook, but I try. I'm a traveler by heart, so I've traveled all over the world. I've been very fortunate to be able to do that, and long may that continue where I can do possible. I'm a trustee of a charity dealing with dentistry in parts of Africa and also in the UK, and also do a lot of charity work in India through our Samara business. Friends and family are really important. Relationships are everything to me. Okay. And my other interest, I guess, is my business. My business keeps me very, very busy. And with my business, it provides me the opportunity to really enjoy enjoy life. Okay, so I'm just going to check something here because I always wonder about this software. Is it playing ball? I just want to make sure you're seeing all the slides that I'm getting. I'm assuming you are. If you aren't, please make sure you send a message in chat that you can see me scrolling through the slides, because I know in the past I've had a problem with this. So I'm assuming you can see them. So if there's a problem, please do send a message in chat if you can't see the slides moving. That's what I mean. So that's a little bit about myself. Okay, thanks for the update. You can see the slide. Brilliant. Okay, wonderful. That's the important thing. Otherwise, it's a bit, I just think I'm just talking through and you haven't seen anything that I'm going through. So, next slide. So, what are the 3 T's of a successful firm? Distilled simply: team, technology, and trust. And I'll talk on all of these elements shortly as I go through this webinar. But the team is at the heart of everything you need to do in the accounting world. Without people, good people, you're going to struggle. Technology, I think technology has evolved so much over the years. I remember when I started at PwC, something called Lotus Notes was the in thing in those days. Then when I started off my firm, we started using, was it Quicken, QuickBooks? But it wasn't all on the cloud. It was all kind of a file on a computer. And when we had to outsource information, we had a permanent team member in the UK scanning documents coming in and putting them on an FTP server and sending them all over to our outsourcing firm in India, and then doing that, which was very laborious and time consuming. That technology has certainly moved on to cloud-based solutions and accounting. But at the heart of an accounting firm is you have to have a great team. You need to have the technology. It's trust. Okay. You need to be trusted, not just by your clients, but you need to be trusted by your team as well. So trust is at the heart. We're dealing with important information: money, finance, taxes, their future, their business, their family's future and their business. So trust has to be at the heart of it. So what am I going to discuss today? Excuse me. So I suppose the first things are things I wish I knew before I started my own accountancy firm back in 2002. The things that I have learnt. I'll touch on various stories and mistakes that I've made over the years, and honestly, an honest count of what you should do in your firm to make it even more profitable going forward, and what to do in your practice to grow over the next few years. Because I think, as I said earlier, I think it's an exciting time in the accounting industry, but you've got to go into it with your eyes open and not necessarily do all the same things that you've been doing historically, but look at new options, new ideas, new avenues, new angles. So, little background history about myself. When I started back in 2002, and I was I'd been married to Smita, a dentist, for about 6 months, yeah, something like that. And I kind of hated my job. I hated it. I was working in investment banking. The money was good, don't get me wrong. It was very attractive for a 28-year-old person. It was like a small fortune, but I hated it. I hated the environment. I hated the culture. I hated the people. I hated it. So one day I got my bonus in my bank account, checked it had cleared, and then I walked into my boss's office and said, I'm quitting. And he said, oh, which bank are you going to? And quite matter of factly, I said to him, I'm not actually moving to a bank. I'm actually going to join and start my own accounting firm, start my own business. And he looked at me completely strangely. He was an accountant by trade historically as well. He said, are you nuts? You're earning a fortune here. You're going to start from nothing and you're going to go and start your own firm. I thought you were going to go to another bank where you'll get another bonus of 6 figures or something like that, he said. And it wasn't. I made a very clear path. I realized that the investment banking environment wasn't for me. So I quit, and it all started on this dining table in my dad's dining room. We still have that table. It's from John Lewis, by the way. And it was the starting point of the business. And really, that was how it all started, from a dining table with an idea. But I'd worked in a big 4 firm. I had investment banking experience, but I knew very little about preparing accounts for small business. It wasn't really my expertise domain. And I learned things very quickly. Before working in a big four and accounting and in banking, everything was provided to you and clients come to you and you think it's going to be, you're the big wig. When you start your own firm or on your own, it's like, holy shit, okay, I've got no clients, no employees. I've got this client, I've got some interest from clients and I'm not sure what to do here, but I need to figure out how to do it. So I learned very quickly that what had to be done, or more importantly, who I needed to hire to get the work done. And that's been at the heart of what I needed to do, what I've done over the many years since then. I found it that by putting yourself in that situation, into an uncomfortable situation of kind of thinking, oh my God, can I do this? You do it anyway, and then you figure out a way how to do it. And I think that's worked quite well for me over the years. So what were the key learning points from that period of time? So when I did start up, I actually started from scratch. As I said, I started the business from scratch. I had an idea. Now I could be an accountant to small businesses. My wife was a dentist, so I thought, okay, we're dentists. But then I went to some local business networking meeting and I met some florist business and then a solicitor's firm. And I thought, okay, I could do all of this. Okay, it wasn't too difficult. But what I realized suddenly is like, oh my goodness, there were a real mixed bag of clients, some more organized than others. It was proving to be a complete headache. And so that was the starting point. So I realized that I didn't really want the florist as my client. The solicitor seemed difficult. So I was still kind of one or two dentists I had as clients. And at the time when I started, I didn't even consider purchasing a practice at the time. It wasn't really something on my radar. I thought, well, I can do this. I don't want to get a loan. Why do I want to get a loan? I can try and get clients myself. So getting clients did take time. It took patience. It took lots of mistakes. But it taught me a lot of learning experience, which stands me in good stead today of how to get clients, how to get business. I'm not a good salesman, but I think I'm a pretty good marketer, and I enjoy that. So that's what's got me clients over the years, the marketing that we do, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But it is possible to start from scratch or to purchase a practice, and I do know some people who have bought practices very successfully and built and grown them, and fantastic. But I think at the heart of hearts, I'm always a startup type of person. I love the idea of just getting your hands dirty and figuring it out, like the Lego. Actually, it's you're starting with all these pieces. How do I assemble them together? Whereas if you're buying a practice, you might have all the Lego assembled together, but it might not be how you want it to be assembled. So I think in addition, I didn't enjoy the idea of at the time of using all my money that I'd saved as a bonus from my investment banking days to actually open up or actually buy a practice, because I wasn't sure. I was starting from scratch. If I started from scratch and I didn't make a success of it, okay, at least I just haven't wasted or lost a lot of money. If I purchased a practice and I didn't really have a clue what I was doing when purchasing a practice, at least I hadn't lost a lot of money that way either, or I didn't lose a lot of money that way. So, but as I said, if you're starting from scratch, you need to be ready to market and be good at marketing. And this is what I learned very quickly as I went on. And I suppose if you were looking to buy today, finding a suitable size of practice with a quality list of clients is key. Okay, that's so important. The right type of client, excuse me, and that won't argue over fees and be difficult payers. So, just some of the key learning points when I kind of started out. I suppose the next area was really, this is where I came into my own, and I realized early on that I needed to be working within a niche. So my initial thoughts, as I said earlier, I was thinking, well, small businesses, but then I narrowed it down and thought, well, actually, that's really not going to be the right area. It needs to be the healthcare, I thought, was a sector, because I had a few dental clients initially. A couple of my wife was a client, and then one of her friends was a client. I thought, oh, okay, we're doing well here. We've got 2 clients. Then I thought, well, we could be healthcare. And then I thought, well, no, let's double down into the dental sector. And that's what I basically did for the last 20 years. So what I did, it was certainly slow at start because no one knew me. But what I did, I started doing public speaking all around the country, going to different locations, different hotels, different BDA, British Dental Association speaking groups. So I'd love to come and talk about business, love to come and talk about accounting, love to come and talk about marketing, all these things. And that was how I kind of started off my career in the dental sector. I wrote for magazines. I immersed myself into the sector. And ultimately, I focused on, over the last 20 years, giving valuable information to people, free of charge, most of it free of charge, most of the time, with PDFs, videos, that type of thing on YouTube, articles. And that spread, and that information spread, and people started to see us, and we started to gain quality clients who got a quality reputation, and ultimately getting quality fees from quality clients. And that was really important, because it's all well and good getting clients in, but if they're not going to pay the fees that you want them to pay, there's no point in doing it at the same time. So that was really good. So we built a niche within a niche. And in parallel, at the same time, which kind of really gave us a unique perspective on the dental sector, was that we actually set up dental clinics ourselves, called the Neem Tree Dental Clinics, across London. And this really gave us a unique perspective into how to advise other clients, how to, for instance, what software to use, or how to set up their accounting function, or how to deal with the HR, or how to deal with what kind of company structure they should have, all these types of things. And so that was a really, really valuable lesson and valuable element to our business, which then saw us building the Neem Tree side of things, but also saw us building the Samara side of things in parallel. So, excuse me. Other learning points from this experience was that a niche was a great idea. However, it was slow. Okay. It took time. We thought things would take 3 months. It took sometimes 12 months or 18 months. People were slow to make changes. People were slow to come on board. So you needed to make sure you had cash flow. You needed to make sure you had money to survive. But it worked. It worked. We built good relationships. We built trust, as I mentioned earlier, amongst key people within the industry. And this stood us in great stead. And it was so important to forge relationships with trustworthy clients, with good clients and potential clients. And I think that was really, really important, with building these relationships with good people. And I think even today, whilst we're in an AI age, or we're in a technology age, and thinking that things are going to change, the most important thing in my mind is relationships, and it's people. And if you can forge those and keep those strong, that will stand you in good stead in any environment, even in an AI age. So for yourself, you may want to choose a wider niche. I chose quite a narrow niche, but if you're looking for a niche, you need to look for good professional clients, people who will pay your bills, a sector that's growing, a sector that won't disappear overnight, a sector you can trust, you can earn trust. Now, I chose the dental sector. We've kind of slightly gone wider now beyond dental, and we're doing other healthcare, wider in the healthcare. Because what we found is a lot of dentists might have friends who are pharmacists, or family who are doctors. And that's been really, really helpful. We went in deep with dentistry, and now it's kind of widening. And that's really, really been really helpful for us. So next point was automating your compliance work. So as I said at the outset, we didn't really automate it. It was all kind of lots of paper and lots of files coming in. But what we've learned over the years is, in this environment, there's no excuse not to automate as much as possible. I think we've now got a digital only approach. We don't accept any paper in our practices from any clients. And if they do send them in, we send them back to them, moaning at them. Because having paper and all this information, it's just too time consuming. And none of my team are really interested in dealing with papers either. We've automated the whole sign-up process with the digital engagement system. We use Practice Ignition. This way we know we will get paid. So when we issue out, we have a discussion with the client, they're happy with the pricing and services, we send the engagement letter out, they sign it electronically, and they pay us electronically there and then. Sometimes we get some of the full fee up front, sometimes we get 50% of the fee up front. It might vary depending on the case-by-case basis, but we've got their details and we're getting their money. That has helped us significantly with debtors, i.e. we have none. And that's been really, really important in us, in growing our business. Once the engagement letter has been signed, this triggers a whole host of activities behind the scenes, from AML to obtaining records from clients to then allocating the work and completing the work. And we've kind of used a whole range of software, and I'll talk about the software later. But there are many practice management systems available, and we've used paid ones. We're now back to our zero practice manager XPM as our practice management system, which is free. We've just worked it better. And I think a really important element here is if you want to automate your compliance work, you need good people who actually understand automation and who can actually help you put it all together. It's no good you being able to do it, but you need a team that can actually do it as well. Because if you do it all yourself, it's just going to fall on your shoulders and things fall through the gaps. And that's the mistake I made earlier on, because I'm very much process driven, very much automation driven. But when your team aren't, then it's not going to happen. So it's important to build a team who are that way inclined. And that's what we did in more recent years. So learning points, as I said earlier, with Practice Ignition, we eliminated debtors. And so our cash flow's always in a strong position in the firm. Technology wise, as I said, I'll talk about tech stack later, but choosing your technology early and then not changing it regularly is quite important, because if you have to change it, you have to train team members again and update systems, and it's time consuming. So you've got to be quite thorough in what you're actually choosing, what you're going to use. I think it's important to know that everyone knows their responsibilities and that ultimately, obviously, they carry them out properly. One really important element is to train the clients to do what you want them to do, i.e. no paper record. You need to tell them you need to send the information by this date. If not, your fees could be going up. You need to tell them to send it in this format, or you need to update the zero bank feed, whatever it might be, but we have to train them, okay? If we train the clients, it makes our life a lot easier, and our automation processes are much, much better. In addition, we automate, as I said, as much as possible, and we use workflow automations, and we also use something called Zapier, which is some software which links up different systems. So we can link up our CRM to Xero, or our website via Zapier to Xero, for instance. So there's different ways of doing it. Again, this saves valuable time. Right. Hopefully you're getting the gist of what I'm talking about today. So then the other area, and as I said, I'm rattling through this today. I can go into each of these slides and talk for hours on each slide, to be quite honest, but I'm just kind of giving you a taste of it today. And cross-selling. So as I said earlier, we'd gone deep into the dental market, and by going deep, you start understanding the problems that people have, or the concerns, or the issues, and who the other providers in that market are. And that what we found was that it was always easier to cross-sell to an existing client rather than to try and find a new client. It's ultimately a lot cheaper for us. So because the lifetime value is much higher. If I go to a greengrocer's and I can buy apples, and maybe he can sell me bananas, but he also can sell me cabbages, and also maybe he can sell me milk and vegetables, then you know what? Suddenly I'm a much better customer, like supermarkets do. And the same thing applies to an accounting firm. So we figured out, okay, what are the things that we can offer? So what we do now is we offer commercial finance. We are regulated by the FCA, and we offer commercial finance. So if someone wants to borrow a loan or get a loan to buy a dental practice, or buy a GP practice, or buy a pharmacy, or buy a vet practice, or equipment, or a dental chair, or an x-ray for a vet practice, or you name it, okay, we can finance it. We act as a broker, and we have a great team who are all registered with various other financial institutions, where we basically get the best deal for our clients that's out there. We also do practice sales. So what that means, if someone wants to sell their dental practice, we can facilitate that sale, because we have a dearth of buyers and people wanting to buy practices. And then something we started, again, by being so entrenched in the industry, and also by actually owning dental practices as well, it's given us real insight into what are the cost structures of a practice. So we've formed a buying group. So what that means is that we've arranged with a whole host of suppliers, services, and products, and obtained a better discount for people who join our buying group. That's it. The vendors are happy because they're getting more business. Our clients are happy because they're buying things at a slightly discounted rate. So those are the kind of three main things. We are starting now to do some digital marketing side of things, and some IT-related cybersecurity services, but they're quite small at the moment. If you look at our commercial finance arm alone, it's high margin, and the volume is there, and it's kind of equal on par, or not far off, what we bring on the purely compliance accounting side of things as well. So Definitely think about other high margin services that you can sell to your niche. It could be marketing services. I see other practices I know who sell websites and other things. So there's scope to sell high margin services, but you've got to make sure you do it right. I've done it in the past where we had the wrong people doing it. I think it was on the website side of the business, and it just proved to be a complete disaster. So it's important you have the right people doing the right job. So what were the learning points? Bottom line, the money is in the relationship with the client. That's where it is. If you dig deeper, you can sell more, and this ultimately yields a more profitable client. In my view, you don't need many clients. You just need clients willing to purchase more of what you offer. And as I said earlier, understand your niche's issues and see what others are offering and ask your question, can you do it better? If so, start small and start offering what you deem as a cross-sell opportunity. Right, pricing. Well, I've been through everything here on the pricing side of things. I've made lots of mistakes, charged too low. And as that phrase says, if you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. But it's also if you ask to receive peanuts, you get monkeys as clients as well. And I'm not being rude here, but when people try and discount or try and get a better deal, whatever, historically I would say, okay, we'll do it. Okay, we'll do it. Now it's like, no thanks, I don't need your business, because if they're asking a discount right at the outset, we know what type of client they will, and they'll just keep chipping away over time. So really don't be fooled to thinking pricing low and then raising fees later is a good idea. No, it'll just be a headache for you. Value price, i.e. what do you think it's worth to the client if you deliver on what you say? That's the bottom line. Also value yourself. What are you worth? What do you think you're worth? Okay, I have a high worth of myself. Therefore, you need to pay my fees. If you don't like my fees, okay, you can go to the man down the road. Don't offer discounts, as I mentioned. And ultimately, as with all accountants, you can work out your overheads, add a suitable margin, and apply this to your business. So you ensure each client is profitable. Now, there'll be some clients who are hugely profitable and some clients who may not be so profitable for you. But that's down to you how you manage that and how you change your prices. Learning points. Clients who try and nitpick over fees are not the clients you want. As I mentioned, I think raise the fees until they leave or until you're happy with what they're paying. That's an important element. We've had clients who are paying too little, and so we decided, and they were just being difficult with my team, so we just kept raising the fees every year, and until it got to a point where you know what, we can't service you. We didn't really want to service you, and that's what happens. We raise our fees regularly, and using something like Practice Ignition helps greatly to raise fees regularly because it's all automated. They just enter their credit card details once and we start collecting the payments, which makes life a hell of a lot easier. So in terms of pricing, it's so important to value your service, make sure you're covering your costs and have a profit margin within there, and know your worth to these people, know your worth to your clients. So I've been talking for about half an hour. So, okay, sorry. So I'm kind of speeding through things, and hopefully you're getting some insight to how I think and how our firm thinks. Then the next area I wanted to talk about is importance of digital marketing. This is an area which I think is so important. It really is. So when I started out, I created out my first website myself using something called Microsoft Front Page, if anyone actually remembers it from all those years ago. But since then, we now have gone through various iterations of the website, and now we have an in-house team who manages the website, builds the website, develops the website, writes the code, speed, everything. And the website and SEO is really at the heart of our business. It's so important for me to have Google domination, content production. We do. Let me show you the website if I can. Actually, find it. I'll share another web. I will share our website. So this is our Samara website, okay, and this is been built, and it's got things like our event we've got coming up. There's a whole load of information here. Services for dentists, pharmacists, doctors, vets, daycare, vet, all this type of stuff. Okay. If you go to our resources section, our learning center, there is so much information here for dentistry, pharmacies, vets, GPs. Okay. We have categorized in different ways. Now, Google loves this. Okay. And this is what we've really put a lot of effort and time into, putting content out there. So now if I go to, I'm going to test myself now, aren't I? We do a lot about in terms of buying dental practices. So if I type buying a dental practice, hopefully. Okay, so you see all these are all we are here in the paid ads for, this is for finance. We're up there, okay? But more importantly, on the organic traffic, we're number one, the guide to buying a dental practice. That's what we've done, even above the British Dental Association page. So we've put a lot of effort into targeting that. So when someone comes into this, types in that search keywords, we are top. People click on it, and that's when we start getting the finance. And then from the finance side of things, they talk to my finance team. The next step is to say, well, have you got an accountant? And quite often or not, the client doesn't have an accountant. Oh, would you like to talk to Arun or one of the accounting team to see if you can help? So the finance side is also helping bring in finance accounting clients to us as well. So that's one of our websites. If I can go back to that. Oh, where's it got? Yeah, so the website is at the heart. And so we've spent a lot of time, money, and mistakes at the same time of using it, creating it, but it's been very, very important to us. Another website, we just, where's it gone? I think if I go to, now this is our Samera Global site, which is much newer. It's only been started this year. Traffic's a lot lower yet at the moment, so we haven't got the traction like we have with the .co.uk site. But this is, again, another website, clean, inviting, simple to use. And that's what Google wants. They want you to have a great user experience. So that's so important in this context. Okay, let me just check. Can you see my screen, guys? Can you see the? I just want to check. Can you see my Samera website page or not? Okay, so you can still see the Samera Learning Center. Okay, all right, great. That's fine. That's fine. Let me go. I'll just go back to the other side. It's also complicated sometimes. So you can see the Samera Learning Center, and that's got all our content on there, and that's a really important element of our website. If I go back to Google, just want to make sure you saw that. So I will repeat this if you didn't. I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. Am I doing it right? Okay. I got it. Now I realize. So you can see the Samera Learning Center. But what I'll do, I will do a Google search. So hopefully you can see this tab now. Now this is a Google search for buying a dental practice. Okay. So I typed in the keywords buy a dental practice, and what I said here is that you can see there's an ad by us because we do pay-per-click ads, okay? But more importantly, where I think is the most important is this bit down here, the guide to buying dental practice. We're number one organic traffic-wise, above the British Dental Association page. So what's happening is that someone would go to this page, they will click on it and say, okay, I need finance to buying a practice. They'll talk to my team. They'll also say, oh, maybe you need an accountant. So that's what happens. They get accountancy services as well. So yeah, thanks guys for telling me how it works. So that's kind of what we're seeing. Really, really important to dominate on Google. In addition, if I go back to another website, this if I share this page now, this is our Samera Global page or site. Now this is a much newer website. It hasn't been updated. It hasn't got as much traction as this .co.uk site, but it's giving us it gives you people an idea of what we do. Like this is today's event, for instance, or a whole range of stuff here. So, but it's clean. So that's so important. The user experience has to be really good and really powerful for people. So now let me get back to my slides. Let me figure out if I can do that. I'll stop sharing. So hopefully you can see me. Now back to my slides. Okay. So as I said, website and SEO, and I think that's where we've got to. Google domination is where what I want to do for my sites. So, and what that means, as I showed you a moment ago, from an organic point of view, we're at the top, and even on the paid version, we're at the top. So you give little room for people to not click on you. We do a lot of content production, written and video. We have writers in our team who are writing content on various articles, from buying a dental practice to invoice financing for a pharmacy to tax issues for dental associates, you name it. We have articles being written. And then I also do some videos which go on LinkedIn as well. We also have social media platforms, LinkedIn and other platforms that we use. Pay-per-click, as I said earlier, Google pay-per-click is something we do. But again, I can't do any of this on my own, okay? I drive the marketing because I enjoy it, but I have a great team. I have a developer, I have a digital marketing manager, I have content writers, and we're building this team as we go along. We're adding more team members because there is so much to do on the marketing side of things. And that's why I find if you're going to dominate the space, you need to do the marketing, because that's how people will ultimately find you. So learning points, learn to digital marketing yourself, and then hire the people you think you'll need. And that's how I learn. I started doing it myself, and then I realized I can't do all of it. I need to find these right people. And then you can build on it. Don't try and do it yourself. You'll kill yourself trying to do everything. For me, it's been focusing on SEO and pay-per-click. In addition, I do have a YouTube channel. Actually, let me show you that as well whilst I've got you on the call. Let me figure out if I can do this right, though. Right, let me click on that. The next, to share a different screen. I'm going to share. This is some new software I'm using for webinars. It's quite good, but I think you have to be a bit of a genius to figure out how it works. Okay, so you can see a YouTube page. We've got about 1.6K subscribers. Not the biggest, but better than nothing, I guess. Now, historically, I've just started adding videos here on global accountancy firms and how to run a better firm. So this is all relatively new, okay? But if you look further down here, I've got a whole things on buying a dental practice or raising finance for a dental practice. So we have a podcast, grow your dental practice, marketing for dental practice, accounting for dentists, and general business tips for dentists. So we've done a whole load of videos. And what I've found over the years is that people always say, they might not be subscribers. They say, oh, I saw your video on YouTube, or I saw this, and that's why I'm giving you a call. And again, a great way to do it. It's time consuming, but it's a relatively inexpensive way to do it. You can do it on your phone with a microphone and upload it, and off you go. I cannot stress how important and valuable that can be. So I think I'm mastering this sharing now. I'm getting a bit of an expert now. Okay. Yeah, so use an outside team to assist if required. And then AI. Now I know AI, what's coming? Oh my God, this is actually an image from Google DeepMind. It's actually quite nice. So I thought I'd put it on here. I think the world has gone mad with AI. If you looked on LinkedIn, it's like every second post is about AI, I guess. And I suppose we're kind of part of that process. We've written articles on AI and stuff. And I don't think it's going to go away. We've got ChatGPT. We use ChatGPT 4, I think. Yeah, it's a paid version, but it's really good for finding articles, helping write articles, that type of thing, or putting letters together. Bard is Google. There's Midjourneys for images. So many variations. I actually tried to use a PowerPoint version of there's something called Beautiful.ai this morning to do slides. I did last night. I was trying to convert them into that and make this look really fancy and stuff, but it was a bit disappointing, so I cancelled my subscription on that. So there's a lot of hype around it, and I'm sure some things are really good, but it's a matter of trial and error. I suppose lots of people are thinking, well, will we be unemployed in a couple of years? Possibly, but I think for those people who don't like to change, who don't like to embrace AI, I think if we learn what is happening, I think that's the key. Embrace it, try these different tools, and then that ultimately will enhance your work. Now, it's about identifying what are the tools, which are the ones to use and which ones are not to use, because you can waste a lot of time in using them. We know AI is already used in accountancy software like Dex and HubDoc and Xero, but like, for instance, scanning information from invoices into systems. And I think this will just evolve. So I think what will happen, you'll still need people involved to double check and cross check, that type of thing. But the volume of technology, or the volume will shoot up in what can be done. In addition, AI to assist with admin, we use it already. We use ChatGPT and Bard to write letters, emails, marketing copy, to do presentations. So it's coming, okay? I think we're really at the beginning. It's gonna come, but I think it'll grow. It'll grow. And I think as we all embrace it and learn it, we'll all have to figure out, okay, how are we gonna use it for our firms and for our businesses and for our lives? Bottom line, I don't think we can resist it. We have to embrace it, because it is just the beginning of the juggernaut. We have to understand what is going on and start using it where we can. There are so many tools out there. Again, I've used it for video production. So for instance, I can't remember what the software is called now, video or something like that. And what it was, we created the video and then it divided it into different elements for social media posting, to writing articles for accountancy software. I think really it's about experiment and play with the video tools, with AI tools out there. And read newsletters you see on LinkedIn and these type of things. There's lots of people sharing information. So the more you read, the better you'll get at it. So then in terms of the tech stack for your firm, where do you start? We've been through various iterations over the years. What we currently use, I'll just run through this very quickly. We use Practice Ignition, as I mentioned earlier, for getting engagement letters signed and collecting money. Xero and HubDoc for all the bookkeeping and that type of thing. We use XPM for managing of the client work. We use TaxCalc for year-end tax returns, corporation tax calculations, accounts, everything. We use Calendly, which is for people to book calls with us. It's all on our website. People can book calls with us to talk to us. We use Brightpay for payroll. We use Begin for a CRM system. We use WordPress for our website setup. We use Typeforms on our website for people to enter form information, which is very stylish and easy to use. We use Zapier to automate a lot of activities between different systems. Typeform I've written against, apologies. We use Ahrefs to assess our SEO analysis. I haven't put it on here, but we also use Google Analytics. We use Google Ads as well for ads and also for checking performance. We use Brevo for sending out mass emails. We use Buffer for social media. We use Site Checker, which is a plugin to check our site, but also check other things. We use ChatGPT. So you can see the tech stack's massive, okay? There are things that we like to use. For instance, we used to use Today for a CRM system. That didn't work great, so we had to get rid of it. We got Begin instead, and that's a lot better. So there's different ways of doing things, and there's different costs as well, because some things can add up very quickly. So it's important that you kind of are aware that if you've got it, are you actually using it? If you're not using it, get rid of it. So learning points from choosing the right tech is invest time in what you need. Be willing to test each tool with your team. Make sure you have adequate training, else you'll struggle to use these effectively. And once a decision has been made, don't make a hasty decision to change it unless it does not do what it says on the tin. And that's what a mistake I made historically, is that we'd take on software and then we'd use it and we'd realize it wasn't very good, and then we'd have to change it. So do your due diligence up front properly, or if need be, invest in the training and spend the money on the training to get the people really up to speed on using the software. But the tech stack is important in running a firm these days, and choosing the right bits really makes a difference because it can save you a lot of time. So right then, moving on to team-based activities. Now, if I tell you the story of my recruitment woes, I think I could be here for years. But I had a very steady team for a number of years, and then once a few years back, prior to COVID, some of my team left, and then they then decided to try and steal some of my clients, unfortunately. So some of my clients left, and then trying to find new staff to help me rebuild the business proved to be a complete nightmare. Now, we had been offshoring for a number of years, or outsourcing for a number of years, to third-party outsourcing firms in India. They weren't bad, okay, but it wasn't. We still needed good people here in the UK. So what we're finding now, in the last 2 years, I've had to hire 4 or 5. Well, we've hired 4 or 5 accountants here in the UK, and only one of them's remaining with us, because the other 4 weren't great, to be honest with you. They had the qualifications, but their communications weren't good, their ability weren't good, their attitude wasn't good. It was a whole host of things. So it was it's been difficult to hire. So, and therefore we had an outsourcing firm that we're using. And then I thought, you know what, they're good, but we can do it better. So what are the options nowadays for us? We can keep trying, and maybe we'll hit lucky and find the right people here. And we will keep looking here, because we still want good people here. We certainly do, okay? Because you need good quality people wherever you're operating. But finding good quality is so hard in this environment. The other option is to offshore and outsource to a third party, like we did previously. And now we're offering that facility to other accountancy firms if they want to offshore or outsource, say, a bookkeeping role to our team in India. They can do that, and who are all trained and who are capable and speak English well, etc., etc. They all have to meet a minimum standard. And then the other option, what we're looking at now, is to helping firms set up their own offshore facilities overseas. Again, rather than you paying us every month, you set it up yourselves with our help and support. And that's another option available out there. So the learning point, what I learned from this whole exercise, for a number of years, we kept doing the same thing. We kept hiring not so good people from recruitment agencies. And we kept getting the same result. The recruiters were getting rich, and we still had the same problem. So we had to change. We had to do something. We were, as I said earlier, outsourcing to third-party providers who were good, but I decided we could do it better. And ultimately, we could, because we understand the UK market. We understand what our clients want. We are a UK accounting firm, so we know what our clients want. Therefore, we can tailor it and adapt our team overseas to fully fit into that model. So ultimately, we set up our own fully owned Indian operation. We own it 100%, owned by a UK company. Learning points in dealing with India, it's not easy, okay? But we have an awesome team. We have patience. We know how to get things done. So for anyone looking to set up their own facility, or wanting just to use our team or add a member to their team using our team, we can certainly provide that as well. As I said there, so this is it. Building a remote offshore term. Option 1, you can use a third-party offshore provider like Mehra Global, or option 2 is you can set up your own facility with our assistance. Both work well. And I think if you have to look at the way the world is moving now, the UK, we've got an aging population. In India and other parts of the world, it's a very young population, driven, capable, speak English well, wanting an opportunity. So we have excellent team members. They have a great work attitude and ultimately a willingness to learn. And that's where the opportunity is, getting good people into your team. And that's what it is. We're not sitting in a silo anymore, sitting in, like my firm's in Surrey, okay, in the UK, and we had clients all over the UK. But now my firm's global. We have team members sitting in Delhi, okay, we have team members sitting in Preston, we have team members sitting in Lincoln in the UK, we have team members sitting in Essex, we have team members in Berkshire, but we have a whole host of team members, as I said, sitting in Delhi and surrounding areas. And that's, what's enabled that? Technology. What's enabled that? Good team members. What's enabled that? Good attitude, and a go-get working together attitude. So it's such that you don't have to limit yourself to what you see just in your kind of locality. That's what I want to get across here. So what my learning point, in truth, I think I should have started my own offshoring facility much earlier. I suppose circumstances weren't there, and other stuff gets in the way in life, family and children and all these types of things. But now we've set it up and it's going remarkably well. You have to be patient, have had strong systems in place to train remote team members. But again, the remote team is a part of your team. So you may want to visit them. They could potentially come and visit you. The more you gel, the more people understand, the better relationships are. And if you think about it, the large, massive corporations around the world have been doing this for years. I remember one of my cousins, she was based in Mumbai, but her boss was based in Philadelphia, I think. She was working for someone called, I think it was Procter & Gamble at the time. So they have this dynamic in the large organizations, but the same principle can apply to small to medium-sized organizations. It's just understanding how to do it and how to enable it, and we can certainly help you. And remember, your remote team is just like your local team, because they are your team. And the key is to really, really look after them. And then really the final bit of today's presentation, I've been talking, 55 minutes, so almost there. This is probably the most important slide. And this is so important to me. And I've made mistakes over the years, 100%, but it's to treat your team like your close family, care about them, support them, and this will ultimately return in multiples. Be willing to go the extra mile to help more. And this goes for your remote team as well as your local team. This is my parts, not all, but this is some of my local team, hit the London team or UK team who we met in London a couple of weeks ago. We're a team, we're a family. That's so important to me. I've been approached, and we've had investors approach us over the years, and it's all very attractive when they dangle a big carrot, but I know when that happens, the family culture goes, okay? The fun and joy of it goes. It's all about targets, it's all about spreadsheets, it's all about hitting this. Whereas these are all people. These are people that I value, these are people I trust, whether it's this team in the UK, it's the team in India. They ultimately have lives. And if you look after the team, they'll ultimately look after your business. And that's, to me, is the most important thing to learn during this process. And if you have people in your team that you realize that they're not the right fit, you need to move them on relatively swiftly. You don't want them to impact the team and bring a negative culture or negative vibe to the business. It's important to build a culture of fun, inclusivity and diversity. And I think this is something that I learned. I remember when I started out in the industry all those years ago, coming from an investment banking point of view, it was all about profits in investment banking. It's all about making money. And over 20 years, actually took me less time than 20 years, I've realized that's completely the wrong way to do it. Completely the wrong. And that's why I just meet so many unhappy people who work in investment banks. They might have big paychecks, but they're not happy. And there's no loyalty. There's no excitement. My view is you put the people first, build that family culture, and then put the profits second, because the profits will come anyway if you've got the right people in the team. You've got to lead from the front and encourage your team to build their experience and knowledge, train them, educate them, make them feel that they're getting better and improving their lives, improving their skills, and help them achieve their goals. If you can help them achieve their goals, they'll ultimately help you achieve your goals. Now, as I said, you might get the odd person here or there who will try and manipulate the system or kind of screw you over. That's life sometimes. But you know what? Most people are good, and most people want to better themselves, and most people ultimately want to work with a bunch of people they enjoy working with. Okay, so important. The team. So this is a slide. If you can read that word at the top very quickly. I'm not sure if you can read it. Well, you can see, in my words, it's opportunity is now here. You could read it as an opportunity is nowhere, but my view is opportunity is now here. And I think that is the case. I think the accounting industry is growing at a phenomenal rate. Compliance services, there's other services you could add. For instance, ESG could be something that's going to be interesting to you, and you could add that to your foray of services. You name it. People need help. Customers, clients need help. Businesses need help. But as I said earlier, the problem we have here in the UK is certainly recruitment, retention, finding people to do the work. And that's a real downer, because you can't grow if you haven't got the right people. However, if you can find the right people overseas to support you, then you're going to be in a much better position to do the higher margin stuff, perhaps to do the more interesting stuff that you enjoy doing as well, whilst you've got a great team to support you with all the other back office, middle office needs for your firm. So in summary, what I've discussed today, I think look at the pros, and if you're starting out, you've got to look at the pros and cons carefully of buying or setting up a practice. There are cons and pros for both of these. My view, build a niche practice, definitely. Takes time, but if you have the patience, it will grow, because you'll become entrenched in the sector and everyone will know that you're the man to talk to for X. Automate your compliance work. Yes, use technology to do that. Eliminate, because if you automate it, then you can overseas and ship it overseas and offshore it. Cross-sell other high margin services too, like commercial finance. Price yourself right, profitably, so people value you and ultimately you value yourself. Digital marketing has to be at the heart of what you do, because people will see you and get to know you and share information about you. And that means putting great content out there, putting yourself out there. Embrace AI as it develops. It's early days, but embrace it. Choose the right tech stack for your firm. So many different variables, but I've highlighted a whole bunch of tech stacks or technologies we use. Offshore the compliance work so you can focus on the high margin activities. Cannot stress how important that is if you're going to grow your firm. And ultimately, create a family culture and become the leader you are meant to be. If you built that culture in your firm, people will support you, your team will support you, and that culture will just go beyond the shores, because it's not just for your culture here in the UK, it could be your culture in the team that you may have overseas as well. Get in touch. This is my first visit to India a while back, and these were the first people. Now the team's grown to about 24, 25, and it's growing at a great rate of knots. We can help with offshoring or outsourcing your compliance work, things like payroll, bookkeeping, accounts production, tax returns, all of that stuff. Alternatively, if you want to set up your own offshoring facility with your own team, we can do that. You can contact me on that email address, arun@somero.co.uk. In addition, I do write a personal newsletter on business tips for accountants every week. It's at someroglobal.com. You can it's the link there, newsletter.someroglobal.com. You can get that. Let me share that in a minute. I'll share that in a minute. And if you've liked what you heard today, I have a live event in October, which I'm going to do in person. Today's just a taster, an hour. When I do it in October, it's about 8 hours, something like that. In a lot more detail, we'll go into all of these areas and cover some more areas by then. If you book by the end of July, you can use that code there to get £200 off. If you book by the end of August, you can get a different code to get £100 off. Let me just share the newsletter link. And that's it. That's my... Hold on. Let me get to... I'm going to start sharing. Let me just share. I'll come to some questions in a minute, so I can see some questions. So bear with me a second. I'm just going to share this screen. hopefully, let me get back to. So for the newsletter, yeah, you can go to newslettersamaraglobal.com. The margin, it's just started recently, but please do sign up, and you'll. I'll just share that in the chat actually, if we can do that. Hopefully, it doesn't work. So right, let me go to some questions that I can see, and then I had some questions sent to me on email earlier. Okay. So right, I'll come back to the chat ones in a minute. The first question I had earlier from someone else was, is the my biggest mistakes that I've made, okay, in my time of running an accountancy firm. I think my biggest mistakes were realizing that I took some certain team members on who I shouldn't have taken on, and I kept them on too long. That had a negative impact on the team, which ultimately had a negative impact on the business, which ultimately had a negative impact on clients. So that was one mistake. And then not having tighter contracts with certain people, because when they left, I did have contracts and they were good, but they should have been tighter. So then that's when that person tried to poach clients away, and that had a negative impact on the business as well. Thirdly, I think the other bit was not offshoring earlier, or setting my own offshoring facility earlier. I think that was a really important aspect to this. Okay. So right, let's go to another question. Okay, with AI, will eventually the work come back to the UK? I don't think it will. Okay, I think what's happened here in the UK, first, there's a shortage of accountants. Less people are qualifying as accountants. Therefore, no one wants to, not no one, but a lot less people want to work in accountancy. I know the big four firms are struggling to hire recruits, even when they pay very high money. And what will also, and therefore, if you look at people like BDO, I think last week or a few weeks ago, they announced, the US firm announced, I think 10,000 more jobs they're opening up in India because they don't have the resource. This is BDO US. And I think the key will be to train those people overseas in AI, and ultimately the work that they do, they'll be more effective. They'll get more work done at a lower cost for the firms here in the UK. I think offering self-development to people, I think, is so important. Some won't stay. I get that, and I totally agree with you, but that shouldn't be a reason not to develop people. And if you develop them well enough, they'll say, you know what, I'm going to stay here because I've been developed so much. I think that's a really, really important element of it. And I think never stop developing your team, because if you stop developing them, then they'll think, I'm going to move on somewhere else. If you're developing them, they're building and getting better and better at what they're doing. I think it's so important that they get better skills, and ultimately that have an impact on your firm. Now, there will be a percentage that will leave. That's life, okay? But that shouldn't stop you building a team and building a business. So, and then in terms of, I think, you've got another question here from the same gentleman. In terms of speeding up the growing a niche of a niche, I think I wouldn't say it's you could try a couple of different niches at the same time, but really immerse yourself. But to do it right, you just got to immerse yourself into one niche and stick it out and build those relationships, get the people to know you, and become the real face of that industry. Not just on accounting, but it could be business advice. And I think don't be afraid to make mistakes, but you could be talking about not just about accounts, you could be talking about business as a whole, talking about valuations, you could be talking about marketing, you could be talking about pricing, all these types of things within that industry. So immerse yourself. And that's why I think it's so important to be part of a niche, but even a niche of a niche. Another question I've got is around the marketing. Okay, so marketing in terms of what's important in a website these days. Well, in terms of marketing, in my mind, there's two website. It's all about speed and mobile friendliness. So and user effectiveness. How easy is it for the user to use? Okay, and how quick is the website, and how easy it is on the mobile, because everything's on mobile these days. So that's really, really important from a website point of view. And if you kind of conform to Google's core vitals statistics or core vitals, Google will only rate you higher from an SEO perspective. And then when you're writing that content or generating new content and adding it to your website, more and more people will see your content because you've got a fast website, it's on mobile friendly, and it's got a great user experience as well. Wonderful. I think that's it in terms of questions today. I've been talking for just over an hour. I hope you found it useful and interesting. I've certainly enjoyed delivering it. This is the first of many events that we'll be doing as webinars, as well as live events like the one we're doing in October. I do think there's a need for accountants to understand what's happening in the marketplace, but I think it's going to be an interesting and an exciting time for those who embrace it. Thanks very much. And if you've got any questions, you've got my email address. It's arun@samara.co.uk. I'll be delighted to have a chat and see if we can help. Cheers.